Hello, this is Don, and we are continuing on with our series, the 7 critical questions on e-learning, what you need to know. Today we are going to be looking at the subject of how to choose a vendor for your e-learning project. You have gone through the do's and don'ts, you've gone through some of the challenges, you've gone through what to avoid. We are at the point where we're going to begin to select a vendor. The vendor selection process can be a virtual minefield. I mean, you make the wrong mistake and you could have sunk a lot of a lot of money, frankly, and resources down the drain. So it's very important to maintain a checklist that you can use to evaluate vendors as you seek to select a vendor and implement your e-learning system. Now, it's very important to use the same checklist as you evaluate different vendors. The reason is because you will be comparing apples to apples and not apples to oranges. Be able to assign a numerical value, typically a number out of 100, so that you are at the end of the day able to judge based on your numerical assessment of the relative strengths and weaknesses of each vendor. There are certain checklists that you might want to follow. Certainly price is one, vendor reputation is another, technology is another, obviously support is a very critical component. And I'm going to go through a checklist with you. By the way, you can download this checklist from our website, www.eleapsoftware. It is very, very helpful. A lot of our users have found this as a useful guide as they seek to evaluate potential vendors. What I'm going to do is run through some of these checklist questions that you can ask potential vendors. And what you want to do is assign a percentage value to any of these questions. So for example, if you have a 5% assignment to any question, then of course as you ask the question, you are able to, based on their response, put in a value. So it could be 0.25% for this particular question, and at the end of the day what you want to do is to sum that up and see what kind of numerical value you can attribute to that particular vendor. So let's go through the checklist in your vendor selection process. The number one thing you obviously need to ask about in this checklist is things like vendor qualification. It sounds pretty basic, but that is a very important component that you don't want to miss. Now, does a vendor serve similar markets to yours? Has a vendor got experience in dealing with companies your size and your reputation? Now, this can be two ways. I mean, there might be vendors that are starting out that have not got a lot of reputation, but suddenly, or a lot of experience, but suddenly can help you. But by the same token, you want to find out if they've worked with other companies with the same size category, in the same market category. What are the vendors' references? Do they have business and customer references readily available so you can evaluate what others are saying about it? I tell you, this is a very important step. Your business reference review is a very important step, and you should not ignore that. Secondly, can the vendor assure you of successful implementation? Does the vendor have a proven plan for implementing its system? And certainly, how long has the vendor been in business? Those are typical questions that you want to ask as you assess the vendor's qualifications. Secondly, pricing. Is the pricing in line with similar offers or similar vendors in the market? Does the vendor primarily rely on customization or on subscription sales of his product? Now, this is important because some vendors might give you kind of a base package, if you will, and then they make their money off of any additional feature that you want. What that means is, if you're not aware of it, what might seem like a simple and probably affordable program can suddenly become very, very expensive. So you need to be aware of how they are structured and how they make money in their business model. Suddenly, of course, do you see a relationship between price and quality? And of course, does the vendor give you the price of everything to get started? I always have people ask us, what is the absolute bottom line? And we tell them the absolute bottom line. And you need to know this information from your potential e-learning vendor. What is the absolute bottom line for me to go live? I don't want any hidden fees. I don't want any surprises. And so those are the kinds of questions you should ask under your pricing model. Quality. Does the vendor guarantee successful operations? What is their stated quality policy? How do they treat bugs? We know that there's no system that is 100%. And if issues come up, how quickly do they turn around? and get you responses and answers to your questions. And of course, how easy is the system to use? How much training is required to use the system? Is this something that you're going to invest 6 months and a whole lot of IT support just to be able to use the system? And so you need to ask those questions up front. Does the technology require minimal resources for administration? And of course, how reliable is the system? So some of those questions play under the tab of system reliability or quality, if you will. And of course, we go next to the technology question. Is the vendor's program based on current instructional design methodologies? In other words, are they stuck in the Stone Age? Can they adapt to new technologies using simulations, flash-based training, video-based training, streaming video? Are the staff properly trained and certified? Is the system and technology up to date? Is the system capable of delivering different multiple media that we just talked about? And of course, how simple is the system to operate from the user's end of things? Is it interactive enough? So those are technology questions that you want to ask and get proper answers to, and then attribute a score to it so you can, at the end of the day, sum that up and see the relative strengths and weaknesses of any potential vendor. And of course, the last but certainly not least is support. This is an absolutely critical area. Are maintenance fees included in the package? Is it something that you are going to need to buy every year? And if you are, what does it cost you for maintenance? What does the vendor require in terms of purchasing periodic updates? Is this automatic updates that you get, or do you have to buy any upgrade to the system? Does the vendor provide 24-hour, 7 days a week support? Do they have live support? Do they have options for you to call in or fax or send emails? Those are very important. Of course, is the system in different languages? Can it support multi-language? And of course, do the employees or the vendor, are they knowledgeable in dealing and answering questions? So again, the checklist allows you to pretty much go with a template that you can get answers to. And what's important is once you get those answers, document them, come up with a value, assign it a numerical value, and assess the relative strength and weakness of these. You would normally be able to narrow down your choice to 2 or 3, do extensive interviews, do a free trial, and then hopefully you will be able to nail down a potential vendor that you are comfortable doing business with. Again, this is done going through the vendor selection process in adopting your e-learning system. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us at www.eleapsoftware.com. That's www.eleapsoftware.com. You can call us 291-4650. That's area code 502. Thanks so much, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you.